I want to use this video to speculate, kind of like scientific speculations, and kind of making some connections between dots, even though the relationships looks very unlikely, might might be very unbelievable, but uh, well, when I was studying in back east in University of New Hampshire, back then the Americans were busy shipping their companies and jobs to China, and I had finished undergraduate and I was studying in graduate school. So, but the atmosphere and the feeling that there was in that time, like the zeitgeist of the time, was that many of these industries will be gone, which will happen later on, and also the people around me, they looked at my career with such disdain and such hostility, and also there weren't any jobs I could get that had anything to do with what I had studied in college. So it's kind of like mulling. I really need to dump this place. And they had already dumped me, but then things happened exactly like I thought. They then kicked me out of the graduate school. I had to come to Southern California to study um, engineering again, which later on I did get degrees, but it didn't go anywhere either with jobs. The, the, the bourgeoisie, the rich people, the corporations, they had such hostility to many Iranian scientists. And in fact, later on, the Israelis, they had a program to kill nuclear scientists, but then also U.S. government sometimes grabs Iranian scientists and researchers. Well, it's kind of they don't want other countries to develop nice technologies, and also this has been going on for a very long time with them. They have been suppressing a lot of technology and a lot of knowledge and discoveries that would kind of revolutionize humanity if they knew, hey, this is going on. But I just want to mention some conclusions that I have reached reading about UFOs, reading about all the stuff that has been leaked out, not the stuff that we don't know, but there is also a lot of stuff that has been leaked out. There is a lot of stuff from Bob Lazar regarding the technology inside the UFO, how they fly, and what's behind it. And also there is technology or literature about the aliens that the US sometimes captures, or they crash here and they capture them, and also about these technologies and events after the Nazis got hold of it. I think the Nazis had a very advanced anti-gravity devices comparable to aliens, and they did learn from the aliens, and also that they had bases in Antarctica. But humanity has very long history, and the history that we know is really a fib that the powers to be want us to believe such a history. It might be very false. It might be a big lie. History can have many hidden or lost pages. But when I studied this anti-gravity technology from the works of Bob Lazar and also from the historical studies on the Nazis, I came to some conclusions that if you understand the physics of anti-gravity, you're gonna be step by step going along a certain direction that will make you doubt much of the current history. Well, there was a mathematician, two mathematicians. His name was Kaluza, and there was another one, a mathematician, a particle physicist. His name was Klein. So it was Kaluza that he first started it. He started with the general equations of relativity, Einstein's general equations of relativity, and he added another variable. Now I'm gonna tell you what this other variable is, but when you write these equations, which were later on refined, were also presented by Klein in collaboration, they these five these equations in 5 dimension, they they can be, or they are similar, they can be simplified, or they're similar to Maxwell's equation for electromagnetics. So well, Einstein was trying to relate gravity to electromagnetism, and he was unsuccessful. But once he got hold of these equations, he was very intrigued. He thought that there is something to it. But in actuality, these forces of nature, gravity, and then the 3 dimensions of space and one dimension of time are related. They're tied together. Well, there's another way of looking at it using the standard model, that the weak force and the strong force and electromagnetism and they're all tied together, and gravity, they're all tied together. But coming to this realization, then there is yet another step that you can go, because around the black holes, as the gravity increases, as you get closer to the event horizon, time slows down. Time becomes like a clock that runs slowly. At the event horizon, time stops. Well, if you're able with with manipulating electromagnetism to screw around with gravity, then that only means that you can manipulate time too. So what I'm saying is that there some civilizations have been able to manipulate time. They have been able to play around with it. And well, in some of the literatures, they're saying that these UFOs, or these aliens, they call them grays, they're not really belong to our time. They belong to humanity's far future. Well, they use the term P25,000 and P75,000 years. That there was a cataclysm and a timeline that we had at 2012. There was a nuclear war, and Earth was destroyed. But there were these groups that survived, and then they were modified genetically. They're more like a machine. They're not really human. They're a combination of human and machine. But it's interesting that somebody else came around and said, hey, these guys, they are not really belong to our times. But yet there was another conjecture was saying that all these structures that you see on the moon, structures you see on Mars, they're like pyramids or other planets. They were made by aliens that are really branches of humanity or future branches that came back in time. There is this stuff sounds so unbelievable, but if we grasp the physics that it's really possible to manipulate gravity, then the possibility of manipulating time becomes yet another step that somebody else might have taken. Well, there is another effect, they call it Searle effect, and that you could create anti-gravity, you could create or electricity free energy by sucking it away from other dimensions. But there is some videos on the internet I was looking at that's very interesting. But in my other video I was talking about the bubble of nothingness. So this kind of relates to Philadelphia experiment. Well, so you gotta kind of go through this step slowly, and you better have very good physics background to understand what I'm saying. Some particles, like neutrinos, they don't interact with other particles because they are electrically neutral. Well, all the volume and mass you see in the universe or baryonic part of the universe is really the creation of electromagnetism. For example, the boundaries of atom where the electrons are circulating, well, it has electromagnetic repulsion. Okay, so if a particle that has charge comes through, then it will interact with this. Even photons interact with it, but some particles like neutrinos don't have it. But there was another conjecture that Higgs particles they interact with electromagnetism, with electromagnetic or charged particles, and this is actually what gives rise to mass. Well, if somebody knows how to create a field that disrupts this interaction, disrupts the interaction between Higgs particle and baryonic matter, then what will happen is that the baryonic matter that now has become neutral, charge neutral, will just go through each other. Like one hydrogen atom will just go zip through million other hydrogen atoms without interacting with them. Okay, because most of the hydrogen atoms is really empty space. And this bubble of nothingness, this field that has disrupted the space-time in its own circle, this is really the bubble of nothingness. It's like you have a medium, which is a space-time. In this medium, space and time change, or can change. Time can change. But if you create a bubble, and in this bubble nothing interacts with this medium, it's like a hypothetical sphere. Okay, it will be like it has been extracted from the medium that we call our universe. It has been disconnected. So if you take this circle and move with it, first of all, it can move at incredible speeds because it's not tied to the fabric of our universe. It can go a million times the speed of light. Okay, this hypothetical sphere, it not only will be able to travel in the space, but it can travel in time because it can travel in the medium that's space-time, or that's the universe, without interacting with them. So it's conceivable that very highly advanced civilization would have figured out the mathematics and physics of constructing this bubble of nothingness, and then also probably needs shitload of math and physics to be able to measuredly go through in the time direction or space-time direction of this medium we call universe, because it's not blocked or stopped by it. Well, studying some of the works of Bob Lazar, he talks about that the UFOs that they had captured, they really travel in their own gravitational fields, and in fact there is a field around this vehicle which can be approximated like that bubble of nothingness. So that's why these vehicles can go at incredible speeds. They are not tied. Well, when we look at this phenomena, or the way we perceive it, because we are bound by ordinary time and the three dimensions that we have, is that we think that this vehicle is really traveling in space. But it's not. It's traveling in a space-time, and it can go into the past or into the future, because it's not. There is no resistance force to prevent it from going around to the beginning of the universe and coming back to the end of it. Well, this stuff is kind of a lot of physics and a lot of math. If you don't have a really good background in these studies, you're gonna miss what I just said. So there is also evidence from ufology for these very weird ideas. And the other topic that kind of you can look at is that once a creature becomes intelligent, like has a, I don't know, certain IQ or higher than 100, 80, whatever, then this creature will become almost like immortal. The intelligence itself creates so many resources, so many ways of doing things, of not only extending this creature's life indefinitely, but also, just like I said, with these technologies, it allows this creature to do incredible things that will prevent its complete destruction. I think that well, you have to kind of look at all the literature or videos in YouTube, that they find anomalies, they find the structures all over solar system. There is literature says that there's underground bases belongs to different intelligent creatures. Some of them, like that they were dinosaurs millions of years here, they became intelligent and then they moved into underground bases. There is anomalies on Mars. They have pictures of, shows not only humanoids, but shows different different creatures that this planet might have had several intelligent creatures, not just one. Uh, well, you could also study Egyptian depiction of their gods, and they look to be different creatures altogether. That they're not human. They're not even humanoid. Some are very strange. There is also literature, videos shows the archaeological digs that there were giants here or titans. There were a kind of fish humanoid creature that was intelligent, and it was the one that really designed humanity. There is evidence that Venus has some kind of underground civilization. I don't know how that's even possible with the hellish temperatures on the surface of Venus, but kind of surmising that Venus was like a moon of a planet or a small sun-like planet that exploded and went away, and Venus is left. Surmising such histories, then there could have been intelligent beings on the surface, and in order to survive, they escaped into the interior of the planet. Well, there is a lot of history and literature from the ufology that there are humankind or different branches of humanity that are inside the crust of the earth. Well, if you watch the movie Time Machine, the guy, he creates a field around his machine, and he's able, by adjusting the dials, to change the direction that he wants to go in time. Well, I want to end it right here because this speculation can go on, and there is so much stuff out there that's kind of really very speculative and very hard to believe too. But another thing that I want to mention is that I believe that the U.S. government, also some other governments, they very much want to suppress these discoveries or these technologies, because once humanity figures out, hey, we are not limited to this place, we don't have to stay here or these conditions, we can we can go live on the moon. There are devices and machinery that can help us do that. We don't need these guys. We don't need the U.S. government. We don't need the Chinese government. Then this will additionally, it's like humanity is like a wound up ball, and just will open up and go elsewhere. But also I think that many aliens, civilizations or cultures, they're very hostile, and they're very worried about the stuff that humanity does. I want to mention some of the things that I have read in the literature. They are very worried about us completely destroying this planet in a nuclear war. This comes up in many of these videos and discussions, that they want us to not use nukes. Then also comes up that humanity has not grown morally. We are very unfit to travel to the stars, even if the technology is there. It's like many places, many societies, they don't want to give jobs to felons, or they don't want felons to become like teachers or to become like politicians. It's because they have shortcomings on the moral side. They have a moral depravity or turpitude. That's and this also could be the result of our history, and some of it could be that we are really morally defective genetic engineered species. That there were other species that they didn't survive, but they were more suitable to habitate the earth. But we survived because we are more violent, not because we are intelligent or anything. And we might be a creature that they are like very worrisome, like a third cousin that nobody wants. He has too many bad habits, kind of violent, or has drug problems, or is gay and prying on other family members, something like that. Well, in some literature, they refer to Earth as a prison planet. And on some anomaly videos from NASA, it shows hundreds of UFOs circling the lunar module and showing themselves to the astronauts, showing them, hey, you're an welcome guest. I guess there is some real good reasons why NASA didn't go back to Moon, or they went secretly to Mars and then they were asked to leave because there is already intelligent beings there and they really don't want these people. I have a picture on my Twitter account, shows I don't know, this picture seems kind of real, Martians, but I don't know, it's just something that had leaked out. Well, I could speculate over and over. I don't think that we are anything special in the universe. There are other species, there are intelligent species, and while on Cliff Highs, some of the videos, he was talking about there be a huge, I don't know, is it ship or is it creature on the bottom of some oceans that have been videographed, that goes around from place to place. I don't know, it eats up all the garbage that we have made, or I don't know. There was another discussion that there was this, looks like a cloud that hangs over parts of the ozone layer and repairs the ozone layer. I have suspicion that humanity is really a very troublesome tenant, and really the landlord that we don't want to know, because our governments are very leery of the landlord, that doesn't really like us very much, and thinks that we are very destructive. And also this landlord or similar landlords or aliens, they really don't like us to be exiting Earth and going into the universe, because we are too destructive, we are too warlike creature, and we remind them of their sad histories, or if there was nuclear war in other planets, or where they blew each other up. And okay, when I was in UNH, when I had lost hope, I was thinking to become an aeronautic engineer or do quantum physics, and things weren't going well, and I was gobbling up all these different sciences. Then one summer I thought to myself, this stuff they're great. They interest me, but I probably won't ever get a job in them. If I get a job with the Iranian government, I might get killed too. So I started studying any topic, even study spirituality, ghosts. That's that's very interesting, but doesn't have to conform to scientific norms. Or it just is interesting. I said to myself, if this is the only criteria making me study this stuff, then I might just pick things on the side that really interest me. Well, another video I'm gonna make is about ghosts. I think that ghosts, they influence the material world. But in ufology, there is also discussion that there is this trans-dimensional beings. I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe that's the only thing that keep me working on it. Well, thank you very much for being in my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and don't be shy. Leave comment. All that. Thanks.